Hello, guys and girls, fellow YouTubers. Welcome to another movie review of mine. Now, earlier tonight, hours ago, when it was still Sunday, I watched two Malcolm McDowell movies, and I just finished the second one I watched. The first Malcolm McDowell movie I watched was Cat People. Originally, I was going to do A Clockwork Orange, but I decided to do that for the second movie. So the first movie I watched was Cat People. My girlfriend was doing other things yesterday, and I'll get to see her in the next couple hours again. But I was watching my own movies and doing my own thing, and I was watching Cat People earlier, and now I just finished a few minutes ago watching my favourite Stanley Kubrick movie. Now, don't get me wrong, I love other Stanley Kubrick movies, such as obviously Clockwork Orange being my favourite. Then there's like 2001 Space Odyssey, which is brilliant. Full Metal Jacket is so damn good. There's just quite a few good Stanley Kubrick movies. I didn't really think that much of Eyes Wide Shut. Then again, I haven't really watched it in a while, so I may have to sit down and watch that movie one day and see if I view a different opinion or not. But I still love Clockwork Orange, and I just finished watching my copy of A Clockwork Orange on 4K, and I still fucking love this movie. And I'm going to talk about the scenes that I love so much, which I love the whole movie from start to finish, but there is certain scenes in the movie that are more disturbing than others, like the opening scene, which I did a previous video on my TikTok was that I started watching the movie, was the scene where it's in orange or red, and it starts out, and then you see the first shot of Malcolm McDowell, Malcolm McDowell, but as Alex Larger's face, and the classical music that played there. Then again, this whole movie throughout has classical music because the protagonist or main character of the juvenile delinquent that supposedly is meant to be reformed by the Ludovica technique, he pretty much is a big fan of Ludwig van Beethoven, and even he gets tortured with that music in the movie as well. Now, the scene that I find the first disturbing scene, obviously, is when that man, the homeless man in the movie, is in the alleyway by himself, and he gets beaten up badly by the droogies because he's singing an old Irish song, and he gets beaten up pretty badly by the droogies. That scene in itself is so disturbing. As soon as that scene came in the movie, and even the opening scene, I was like, okay, this is fascinating. The first time I watched this, I think I was 15 years old. Oops, too young to watch that sort of movie. Oh well, I don't fucking care. The movie was awesome even when I was a lot younger, even back then, when I was young and I saw Clockwork Orange, I was like, this movie's fucking epic. And I knew as soon as that scene happened that by that portion of the movie, I knew straight away that something disturbing was going to happen in the rest of the movie. I just got, or throughout other scenes, I just got this vibe that the movie was going to get more and more disturbing. Plus, I had heard controversial things about the movie. No one actually ever spoiled what the controversial stuff about Clockwork Orange ever was, though. All I knew was it was a Stanley Kubrick movie. It was a movie way before I was even born, and apparently it was a controversial movie, and apparently it got banned and was another movie that was based off a book. The book is a Anthony Burgess movie, and the movie version is by Stanley Kubrick, which I love to death, that movie. Like I said, when the homeless guy gets beaten up, that's just messed up. And then that next scene where it's the other gang and they're in an empty room somewhere, and the gang is there's a few gang, and this woman is trying to get away, and you can see she has no clothes on, and she's getting sexually abused or raped, and that scene was disturbing as well. And in comes Alex DeLarge and his droogies when they say about the whole the Billy Boy line of "Come get one if in the yarbles if you have any yarbles," which I think is a hilarious line. And if you're wondering what the fuck that means, it pretty much means "Come get one in the balls," in English Cockney slang or the Nadsad language. Yes, this movie has some interesting language used, like Dvoshka and Millicent and Moloko Plus, which Moloko Plus to me is just a glass of milk. Unless it was meant to be like drugged or something, I don't really know. I'm just getting the vibes of what I've seen every time I've watched A Clockwork Orange. And then that scene where Alex DeLarge and his droogies sneak into the writer's house, and the older guy writer's house in the night, and before they sneak in, they like kind of pretend we need to use a telephone, and they sort of trick the female, the writer's wife, who's wearing like a red dress, to answer the door. And when she does answer and they come in, the droogies are dressed, so Alex DeLarge and Dim and Pete are all, and his other droogie mate is all dressed and have these weird masks on, and they're, notorious bowler hats, and they're I don't know what their piece is called on their pants, but some form of cock piece thing, and they pretty much sexually abuse, grab, of course, first, and they pretty much tie her mouth up so she can't really speak, and that's when Malcolm McDowell, weirdly enough, breaks into the Gene Kelly song of Singing in the Rain the first time he does it in the movie. Yes, he does it a second time in the movie, but later on, at the end of the fucking movie. Just even that second rape scene that Alex DeLarge performs is so controversial and so disturbing. Like, it's fun listening to a dark version of Singing in the Rain, but during a rape scene, you're like, I always try and it's hard to look at that scene. I'm basically saying, like, I do watch the scene and I've never skipped the movie. Like, I'm not saying I condone that sort of thing. I don't at all. But then again, this is just a movie. This is for entertainment's sake, or it's trying to say something about gangs and bad people committing horrendous crimes. And that's what this movie is literally about, is about the protagonist and his bunch of droogs committing terrible crimes until, of course, his droogies fucking turn on him, because they even smash him over the head with, like, a bottle of milk. And he even turns on them in one scene where he, like, cuts Dim's hand as well. And even the scene before Alex DeLarge goes to prison, that scene is disturbing too. But I find that scene a mixture of disturbing and kind of comical. Like, if you're wondering what scene I'm talking about the cat lady scene in A Clockwork Orange, the one where he knocks at the door and pretends he's not gonna, like, come and disturb her, but then he sneaks into, him and his droogies, and he personally, Alex DeLarge, played by Malcolm McDowell still, eventually sneaks in her house, and she's wondering what the hell he's doing sneaking in the house, and she's obviously rang the police, and she's obviously heard about the rape that he committed beforehand. And that scene is hilarious, where Alex DeLarge says naughty naughty to her because she's got like this penis phallus or penis, this white penis sculpture thing that Alex DeLarge ends up hitting a few times before she picks up what I think from memory, because I've watched this movie many times, is like a sculpture thing to do with Ludwig van, which I find quite interesting. There's a lot of symbols stuff in this movie that refers to what Alex DeLarge is into. There's even clocks in the movie, like watches that Alex has in a drawer with his pet snake at one point in the movie. There's all the Ludwig van classical music that's played throughout the music. I don't know if when he's in the hospital at the end of the movie, when he tried to kill himself, I don't know if having a glass of orange juice has anything to do with, because the movie is called Clockwork Orange, but I'm presuming it may do. Just this movie is still amazing, and this movie I still love, and I still find the language to be absolutely amazing. Like, the movie is still brilliant. I'm always going to love this movie. I'm pretty much going to love this movie until the day I can no longer watch movies or the day I can no longer breathe. And that sounds morbid, but I'm pretty much saying I'm going to love Clockwork Orange until the day I die, because the movie is fucking incredible, and all the actors did a phenomenal job. Malcolm McDowell, Warren Clark, that creepy actor Aubrey Morris or whatever, who plays Mr. Deltoid, who I thought was going to beat the shit out of Alex at one point in that particular prison interrogation scene, but no. He starts to phlegm up his throat and he spits in Alex DeLarge's bleeding face in that prison interrogation scene in the little prison cell by himself, when Alex gets beaten up by like prison screws or people that work inside the prison. And that scene is like disturbing in itself. The bit where Alex DeLarge, back to the cat lady thing, kills that cat lady with that penis sculpture is disturbing before the prison scene. That interesting scene with the whole priest is interesting as well, that is in the jail, and this guy looks at Alex DeLarge quite perverted, and the priest is obviously ranting on about Christianity, which I found to be quite interesting as well, even though I don't believe in that rubbish. Even on the stage in the jail, when they have like a comedian telling Alex DeLarge he smells or whatever, and makes Alex DeLarge sniff his back of his boot, which grosses Alex out, because not long before that he had his first Ludovica technique thing, which he had in his eyes and his head, those things. So he had to watch Ultraviolet's movies of like a man with a gang getting beaten up, and obviously another female in a violent movie scene that was trying to disturb him and make him sick of some other female getting gang raped. And yeah, disturbing movie, but interesting scenes and visual imagery that is disturbing and very graphic. So I definitely understand why this movie is definitely not a family-orientated movie. Definitely don't put on this movie for a minor, unless you really want to explain what the hell's going on, or if you really want to disturb the fuck out of them. It's definitely not a movie for minors, A Clockwork Orange. It's definitely a very adult-friendly movie, or very adult-orientated movie, I should say. And even when they have that female that stands on the stage, I don't know her actress name, some cameo, and she's nude and topless. Even when Alex DeLarge is trying to touch her breasts, he still feels kind of sick, because he's had all these drugs and stuff drifting his eyes, which were glued pretty much right open. And apparently that happens to Malcolm McDowell. Malcolm McDowell can justify that really happened, and it almost apparently made his eyes almost could have gone blind, apparently. So that really apparently happened, and that sounds pretty fucked up and disturbing of Stanley Kubrick. But anyway, I thought I'd mention that interesting fact to you. Then, of course, the other scenes in the movie that I also find interesting is when Alex first gets out after a lodger lives with his mum and dad, and he found out like his pet snake died because that lodger who lived with his mum and dad read about all the bad things he did, like the murder and the rape and stuff that made that lodger feel really, really disgusted, and that a lot of Alex DeLarge things got taken away by the police, as his dad explaining that scene. And when Alex is holding a brown paper bag, he gets approached by that bum from earlier in the movie who's like, "Can you spare some cod on my brother again?" Until he realizes who the hell that was. The homeless bum then and his homeless friends try and beat the shit out of Alex. And then comes these two people dressed as police officers. And weirdly enough, it's Dim and Pete. And they pretty much come and grab Alex and they take him out to the bush somewhere, and they pretty much try and drown him. And even that scene, when there's classical music playing over that scene, is just so disturbing. And I want to mention the actor that also plays early in the movie, way before this stuff, that plays the prison guard before they take him to the hospital to get the Ludovica technique by Dr. Brodsky. That prison guard reminded me so much of like how John Cleese acts in like Fawlty Towers, or how John Cleese acts in Monty Python. That prison guard is absolutely hilarious. There's some hilarious dialect when Alex DeLarge is arrested and sent to prison and has to take certain things off, and the prison guard is questioning him about certain things and even asks, "Have you ever been a homosexual?" I thought was absolutely fucking hilarious as well. So yeah, I had to mention that as well. After the homeless scene and the violent bit of when Alex is getting beaten up, not only by the homeless, but by the people, Dim and Pete, who are now police officers. I don't know how they got into that role. It never really got explained, but apparently they were police. And they tried to kill Alex DeLarge by trying to drown him. Obviously, it didn't work because the movie continued on, and he ended up later at the person's house that is the writer in the movie, and that writer no longer had his wife alive because she was the one that got raped earlier in the movie when Alex DeLarge was singing with his droogies before they betrayed him and before he committed his last crime. That writer's wife no longer was alive, but he came to the house all in the rain and he was beaten up. As you can see, he had blood on his face again, and the writer fed him some wine and tried to get a little bit of revenge on him by drugging him by saying, "Drink more wine." And that scene was absolutely hilarious where he said, "Have some more wine." And even the bit where there's other people that come to the house to try and talk to Alex about his crimes and trying to help him. That bit is also hilarious when Alex DeLarge is eating pasta and his head falls into the pasta sauce, and you can see on his face he's got like tomato sauce from his head falling into the pasta, and then his head falls back into the pasta again. Then there's that scene where they know he likes classical music, so they basically taunt him because they know it's going to make him sick, or they pretty much taunt him or get a form of revenge or test him out from what I'm guessing from this movie, because a lot of this movie, after the last scene where Alex committed his murder, pretty much going forward from after that scene is everyone is trying to get Alex cured or reform him from when he used to be a really bad juvenile delinquent and committing all these bad gang rapes and murders to try and be a better person. Even though I don't know really if Alex ever did fully become a better person, because the last scene definitely says, I was cured all right, but it ends after that. Like, I kind of wish there was a sequel to this movie. In all honesty, I kind of wish Clockwork Orange had a sequel. I know it didn't, but I would have loved to see if he really did get cured, or he just got sick, but his violentness and his past came back to him. I'm not really sure if that ever happened. That never really got explained, but in saying that, it's still a freaking awesome movie. And when I end this review, I'm definitely going to rate this movie very, very highly. And just all the scenes that are fucking amazing, particularly when they taunt him in that house and they're in that pool table room and the guy's like playing with the pool table ball, and then Alex DeLarge is in that little room by himself and he hears classical music and he's trying to tell them to stop it and he's like banging his head on the ground and stuff, and he opens up a window and he pretty much tries to commit suicide, and you hear this like screaming and a body falling, and it jumps to the next scene after that when he's in the hospital. And there's a funny scene in the hospital where these hospital nurses, because you first hear Alex DeLarge kind of moaning like in a distressed way or because he's in so much pain, and there's like a nurse and doctor who pretty much fucked each other, and they come to Alex's side to see how he is. And then later that nurse that comes with the like purple hair, who I think is absolutely hilarious, or his nurse or psychologist I should say, she's absolutely hilarious, particularly all the images she shows, particularly that scene where he's like about the old in and out, love, I've come to check the meter. I thought that scene was absolutely hilarious. And when he says, eggy wags, I'd like to throw or smash him, I thought it was absolutely hilarious too. And a thing about a plumage with birds I thought was absolutely hilarious as well. Just all the images that psychiatrist showed him in hospital was absolutely hilarious. Then when the main governor came to like visit Alex in his hospital bed at the end scene, there's a whole portion of the movie where before the movie ends, he's talking to Alex DeLarge about this writer that was put away for Alex's own safety, and that the government did him wrong, and that he's got some classical music to play once again for Alex. And he's sitting next to Alex, and they bring these big speakers with the classical music and roses or flowers and stuff near Alex DeLarge's bedside. And Malcolm McDowell, as Alex DeLarge, has a big smile on his grin next to the governor, and they're like doing one of these, and Alex is doing the thumbs up thing and like what he's got on because of when he tried to kill himself, like a hospital sling, and he's doing the like smiling thing, and it goes to like one more disturbing imagery, or a marriage orgy disturbing imagery from what I got out of the scene. The last disturbing or imagery scene before Alex says, I was cured all right. And then pretty much after the bit where he says he was cured all right, it goes to the red end credit writing, and again Gene Kelly this time singing the song I'm Singing in the Rain, which played in the movie Singing in the Rain. I thought that was a pretty cool way to end Stanley Kubrick's The Clockwork Orange. as well. Just the whole movie to this day is still an incredible movie, and I absolutely still love Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange. And it definitely, when it says R18 plus, that is spot on. And when it definitely says high level violence, it's definitely correct about that. It's just such an amazing movie. It's just so good. And here's the images and stuff on the back of Alex DeLarge. There you can see the still of the more or less what I call the crazy cat lady, or the cat lady in A Clockwork Orange, and the other imaging A Clockwork Orange where they're driving to their location before they commit their heinous crime of sexual violence as well. And just wow, still a very controversial movie, and I definitely don't think that this movie will ever not be controversial, and I don't think that this movie will ever not disturb people, because it's going to be one of those movies that are going to be awesome for a very long time, has an amazing soundtrack, even though I'm not really into classical music, but the way it's done in this movie, it really suits all the imagery, even the imagery where he's in the prison with the priest, and he thinks of himself whipping like Jesus, or he's like a Roman emperor. Even that imagery is just disturbing and amazing. And like that scene where Alex is pretty much singing for the very first ever time, Sing in the Rain while committing sexual violence, is always going to be a disturbing scene, whether you've seen the movie or you haven't seen the movie. Sorry if this has been a bit of a spoiler alert YouTube video for you guys, but the movie is still going to be disturbing no matter what, and it's still going to be one of those awesome movies that are going to be awesome for a very, very long time, for new fans and old. I would definitely say Clockwork Orange is a cult movie. It's definitely not going to be to everybody's taste, but it's still going to be an amazing movie that a lot of people who like not only good cinema, good directing, great soundtrack, great visual effects, great directing, writing, acting even, dialect and language and cinematography are going to love this movie. And people who love Malcolm McDowell are going to love this movie, whether it's early Malcolm McDowell, which Clockwork Orange is definitely a very early Malcolm McDowell movie, and the movie Cat People that I watched earlier is very much a later Malcolm McDowell movie, because Cat People came out in 1982, whereas the awesome Stanley Kubrick, A Clockwork Orange, came out in 1972, and I was not born then. If I was born then, or years way before that, and I grew up and it came out the year I was born, I would have loved to see the movie back then. Like, going to see that movie at the cinemas would be amazing. Now, if this is going to sound a little weird, but if they re-released Clockwork Orange or did it at a cinema, I would want to go. Which I don't say very often for movies that I own on 4K, but that's how much I love Clockwork Orange. It's one of my all-time favorite Stanley Kubrick movies, and I know this has been a bit of a longer review, but I really wanted to get into the nitty-gritty details, particularly on this YouTube review, of how awesome the movie still fucking is, and how disturbing the movie still fucking is. And Malcolm McDowell, you should still be proud of yourself, even though you're getting older and older in life, and one day you'll retire from acting. You should still be proud of this movie. It's absolutely amazing, and people who want to get into Stanley Kubrick movies, there's so many out there. There's obviously A Clockwork Orange that I own, as you can see, on 4K. And yes, I've owned Clockwork Orange before on other DVDs, but I don't have those copy. I now have this copy, which when I found out it was on 4K, I was like, yes, This movie deserves to be on 4K, and the quality and picture on 4K is so good, particularly for a movie that did come out in the 1970s. The quality on 4K is just so damn good. And I'm going to end my review here because I'm getting quite tired and I really want to go to bed soon. And I just wanted to talk about this movie. As soon as I finished watching A Clockwork Orange, I was like, I'm going to review this movie after, and I'm glad I did because it's an amazing movie. And I'm going to be biased in saying, now that I've watched it again, I think I'm going to rate it higher than the last time and the previous times before that I've watched. Like, it's been a while since I've watched it. I think I watched it sometime last year or whenever I first bought it. I think I may have even watched it on the night that I did buy it. I don't remember what day it was or what time of day or if it was an evening. But it's definitely one of those good movies to watch even late at night. Like, wow. It just feels right to watch it late at night. And in saying that, I'm going to be giving, because this movie is so fucking epic, I'm going to end my review and by giving A Clockwork Orange a massive 12 out of 10 star rating. I absolutely love this movie. It's better than a 10. It's a 12 out of 10. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, take care and watch A Clockwork Orange. You won't be disappointed.